Peace, this is Tareck Adeeb, time to go with the flow. And today I'd like to talk about heaven, the idea of heaven. Heaven on earth, even to be in such beautiful lands and just to be able to be at one with this heavenly place, to feel a moment. I've always liked the word heaven, especially heavenly. Things like that just sort of remind me of, heavenly fertile times and beautiful moments of joy. So, we can, again, get into sort of like the place and start to remember that a place has a beautiful moment and it can feel heavenly, and it's an interpretation. Obviously, these are things that we've learned through religion, and especially in times like the winter solstice, the idea of heaven, the Yule log, the wise men, the fables, is it, or parables or stories, certainly, of heaven and earth and the divine. And again, we can put symbolism to this as we get meaning. Things like, Neptune, Pisces, Venus even. And even still, the poets, the romantics, the people who chose to be in a place, feel into it, and then report on it, or, add art to the world. And again, these heavenly moments, we place meaning. It's our own story always. It's the nature of Sagittarius in terms of story, the winter solstice, if we're in that part of the world. So the idea of heaven certainly can create a certain degree of difference. Like, for example, if you're in a cold climate and you see it as heavenly, or let's say, remember the idea of story, winter, moving into, past the solstice. So coming out of the winter, all of this sort of stuff. And, all of these, again, interpretations bring light. So that's the idea of heaven, really, in the sense of we all have our own interpretation of it. But to be able to just, be at one with the best version of ourselves, or certainly be able to, feel into something that is better than, you could say, the interpretation of dark or darkness, or the opposite of heaven. Let's say evil or hell, or, the negative. And again, these stories of difference, these stories of what is light, what is dark, what is heavenly, what is evil or hellish. Again, the story, especially at times of Christmas or of any sort of celebration, a collective celebration, we ponder the positive and the negative, what is light, what is dark, what is good, what is bad. And again, we place our own story in these things by placing our attachment to heaven and earth, our interpretation of what is heavenly. Like I say, being in a cold environment might not necessarily be nice for someone. That might not be their meaning of heaven. Likewise, someone in a really hot environment, who doesn't see the seasons, might not feel a sense of celebration, which brings about the Yuletide log, the fire, the way to connect at this time. So the idea of heaven comes striking to me at holiday season or times of celebration, and again, let's say specifically right now, talking to you all at a time of, let's say, winter or Christmas or December, however one celebrates at that time. Being in Australia one year, I celebrated this time on a barbecue by the beach, and that was the joyful moment, even though you could get to the mountains and you could still get to snow. But for me, growing up where I grew up culturally, the idea of snow at this time of year was fond. It was heavenly. It was wonderful. It was stuff you could mess around, play, and be very frivolous and have memories. And then the parables, the music, obviously this is more we can talk about when we get closer to the idea of Christmas or New Year, the attachment to that aplomb, music, celebration. So all of this creates romance, creates the idea of story, heavenly moments, and it's your interpretation of that, your opportunity to be grateful. And for that, thank you for spending time listening to this, and I appreciate all of you. And be your way to show the way. Peace on earth we can all enjoy, God willing. Amen. Peace.